How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. Today we have to talk about what's happening in the market. The stock market is obviously down here today. NASDAQ's down about 2% as of the time of this recording. Crypto's down as well. A lot of crypto's down pretty significantly. Even Bitcoin's down 3.4%, really testing 23,000 right now. I want to talk about that, talk about why the market's down, and talk to you about some assets that I'm seeing that are performing horribly, that some people are still buying the dip on, still buying just because they think that they're undervalued, but I would be careful, and I personally would not do that. So let's talk about all that. If you don't mind hitting the subscribe button underneath the video, I appreciate that. Turn on the bell notification so you know right when I post a video, because some of this is time sensitive. We also have a video coming up probably in the next few days about some of the top cryptos to buy if you have $1,000. So be on the lookout for that. There are also links in case you want to know what I'm buying. There's a link to the Patreon underneath the video, and there's also a link down there to moomoo in case you want up to 17 free stocks. Deposit $100 to get 7, and then you can deposit more if you want those extra 10. Now, the whole crypto market's down. Red today, 3.5%. Bitcoin's down to 23,000 basically. You can actually see right here we're just testing 23,000. Almost fell through it. After some news came out this morning, we fell about $1,000. Now, at the same time, the VIX is spiking. So this is the 1 hour charts here. VIX went from about 21 up to 22, which is a nice 5% move. And then the DXY is spiking as well from about 104.50 up to 105.30, which doesn't seem like a lot, but a 1% move on the DXY is pretty big. And as I said, Bitcoin falling when all this is happening. Obviously, when the VIX goes up, the volatility index, usually risky assets fall down. When the DXY goes up, these riskier assets go down as well. We're also seeing a lot of liquidations over the last hour. We've seen $85 million worth of liquidations, and we can see here the majority of the liquidations are longs. Now, why is this all happening? Well, a couple different things. First of all, we got PCE this morning, which is the Fed's preferred inflation gauge. Now, we already have gotten PPI, which is the producer price index, kind of a leading indicator for inflation, and that came in high last week. And then the week before we had CPI, and that came in high. So I was expecting, since the PCE is looking at the same month as those other two inflation gauges, that would probably come in high, and that's exactly what happened. January PCE went up 0.6%, which is higher than what we were expecting. It's higher than the last month, which was at 0.2%. Now, this came in, like I said, higher than expected. Core came in higher than expected, causing the market to fall down. We also got new home sales at 670,000. The expected was 620,000, and last was 616. So I think this was a bit of a surprise to the markets as well. But like I said, I don't know what the market really thought would happen. At this point, we knew that inflation was higher last month than expected, but this was still higher than apparently analysts were expecting and higher than investors were expecting. And this is causing the market to have to price in more rate hikes in the future. There's a higher probability, around 25 to 30% right now, that we're going to have a 50 basis point hike at the next meeting. Obviously, that's being priced into the market now. And we're also not expecting any kind of flip for the rest of the year now. We're not expecting the Fed to start lowering rates, and we're expecting a higher terminal rate, which again is what's happening to the market. Now, personally, I don't think this will really matter over the long term to crypto. I think that Bitcoin will be fine and will be in a great place in about a year going into that next halving. And personally, I haven't, as you know, been buying much Bitcoin over the last 2 months just because of the fact that we have been racing up so much. I did one small DCA about a month ago, and then I also sold an altcoin recently. I actually sold Polygon when it was higher than it is right now. To be completely clear though, because I realized watching this back, I did not explain this well enough. I did not sell a lot of my Polygon. I did not sell all of my Polygon or anything like that. I sold a small percentage. So to be clear, I'm still bullish long term, but I thought, since it was overheated, I sold about 3% of my Polygon bag, which at this point seems like it was a good idea because Polygon has fallen down pretty drastically. So hopefully I can add more to those here soon. But at this point, the whole market's down, so it seems like that was a good thing that I did. Now I want to move on to something that I'm seeing in the market, which is people making a big mistake buying certain companies. I'll explain what I mean by that in a second, but let's take a look at some news headlines here. Lucid stock drops as output forecast raises concerns over cash. They said that they're only planning to make 10,000 to 14,000 vehicles in 2023, which is about half of what Wall Street was expecting, around 20,000. Also, their reservations came in at 28,000 units as of February 21, compared to 34,000 reported for November 8. This is also after they already dropped some of their vehicle expectations, how many vehicles they were expecting to be able to make recently. Lucid is not the only company out there that is also having problems. Lordstown Motors is freezing production to address quality issues. They only had to recall about 19 vehicles, but that's because they've only been able to make about 30, which is horrible. Ford, bigger car company, right? It's not just the small car companies. Ford is suspending electric F-150 Lightning production for another week following battery fires. Keep in mind, this is all in the last 2 days, all of these articles. So they are having a problem with their electric vehicles as well. GM is going to idle Indiana truck plant for 2 weeks as demand plateaus. They're having a difficult time. They have a lot of vehicles right now in their inventory. Now, to be fair, this is from 5 days ago. There's a 306,000 truck recall for Ram because they had some issues and risks of fire. They say not having to park indoors because of the risk of fire is too high. Now, all this is happening, bad news from small car companies, larger car companies. Some of them are more established, have more cash on hand, have more production. Some are just trying to grow production past 50 vehicles, which Lordstown Motor is such a small player compared to these other ones, but still a large market cap when you consider how many vehicles they've been able to produce versus the market cap of the company. Lucid still having a hard time increasing production. And at the same time, there's news that Tesla undercuts average U.S. car by almost $5,000 in an EV shakeout. This is coming from Bloomberg. When we scroll down here, with the EV tax credits, with some of the recent cost cuts from Tesla, the Model 3 now costs about $4,000 to $5,000 less than the new average car in America. And this is not including some of the savings that you get from not having as much maintenance, from having electricity instead of gasoline. It doesn't even take into account that some states like California and Oregon are giving thousands of dollars in EV credits just on a state level. So some different areas in the U.S. you can get these vehicles for around $27,000 to $28,000. Even if you just buy from their website, you're not included in one of those states. You can still get a Model 3 rear-wheel drive for around $36,000, $35,000. And that's with 272 miles of range, 140 mile per hour top speed, and 0 to 60 in 5.8 seconds. Quite impressive, and that's very cheap. This is still a great car, and this is before Investor Day comes up in just about a week, actually less than a week. So I would be really worried if you have any stock in Lucid, Lordstown, Ford, GM, Chrysler, any of those companies. I would be very careful. A lot of them have a lot of debt. They're burning through a lot of cash. GM isn't even cash flow positive. While Tesla is able to ramp up production, they have the best margins. They're at record pace in terms of cars produced and cars that they're selling. And they're able to undercut all these other car companies, and they have better technology. They're also going to start making revenue from being able to license out some of their EV chargers as well. And they're going to get some credits. Hopefully they'll give some indication here soon how much they'll make from the government for allowing other car companies to use their charging stations. But I would be worried if you have any other car companies in your portfolio besides Tesla. Now, with that in mind, I am averaging into Tesla. You should know that I am definitely a holder of Tesla, so I might be a little bit biased. I'm also a holder of Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin will be fine long term, but it is taking a dip today. It's completely natural for Bitcoin to cool off a bit. Now, we could always see a bigger pullback than we are even right now. Right now, the RSI is around 51 and the market is cooling off. So I think that is good even for this run if we continue up. But even if we see a bigger pullback and we fall back to the $15,000, $16,000, $17,000 range, I'm okay with that. I'm okay because I have cash on the sidelines. I have been dollar cost averaging into the equities market, but I've been largely holding off on crypto because of this bigger pump recently. But I wouldn't mind dollar cost averaging into some more cheap Bitcoin, because if there's anything that the last couple of weeks have taught us, it's that the markets can turn on a dime. Altcoins can go up hundreds of percents over a few weeks. And we should always keep some cash on the sidelines, because if we do fall back down, that means that we could see some really great prices and we could be in store for some massive gains when the market does end up rebounding. Let me know your thoughts on all this underneath the video. Let me know if you want me to cover some of these other pieces of news like the stock market a little bit more. Thank you so much for watching. Check out the links and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.